Welcome, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're exploring Bangladeshi fashion.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting topic.
We've got all sorts of sources lined up, like data reports and articles.
We even got a peek into South Asian weddings. It's amazing to see how traditional clothing is evolving.
Weaving itself into those modern trends, creating something unique.
Definitely. And something with global appeal, too.
It really highlights how fashion can connect different cultures.
Absolutely. It's more than just clothes. We're talking about how Bangladeshi fashion navigates global influence.
Nice. Changing norms, evolving identities.
It all comes together. Cultural expression, economics, media.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And get this. In 2000, the Bangladeshi clothing industry for traditional wear alone brought in $500 million.
Wow.
But by 2022, that number jumped to $750 million. Talk about growth.
That's huge.
And it's not just staying in Bangladesh. Exports went from $50 million to a massive $400 million in the same time frame.
So clothes from Bangladesh are ending up in the UK, the US, Canada, all over.
It's really impressive.
It shows how the industry caters to both local and global needs. Like, take the brand Yellow.
Oh, I know them.
They supply big names like H&M, but also serve the local market with modern ethnic wear. Makes you think, right? How are these global and local trends shaping our own fashion choices?
It's a question we all face, that blend of influences. But for now, let's rewind a bit. How have different media shaped these trends?
Well, Bollywood played a massive role back in the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Think about Devdas, that movie.
Exactly. It popularized luxurious saris and lehengas, influenced bridal wear in Bangladesh.
I bet a lot of people remember that.
Probably. And it's not just Bollywood.
True.
Pakistani dramas, with their elegant styles, introduced those lehenga choli outfits.
Right. Those are really popular for Bangladeshi brides now.
And this might surprise you, but Turkish dramas like Ertugrul have really fueled the rise of modest fashion.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Hijab-friendly saris and gowns are becoming incredibly popular because of those shows.
That's fascinating. So many different cultural influences at play.
Exactly. It's like a global exchange through fashion.
And each medium adds its own touch.
Absolutely. And speaking of unique aesthetics, we should talk about the evolution of sexual signaling in clothing.
Yeah, the shift from conservative styles to more daring choices.
It's really interesting. And we can see this shift in the sari, such a central part of Bangladeshi culture.
Oh, for sure. The sari's gone through some amazing transformations.
It really has.
Moving from those traditional drapes to modern designs with crop tops and sleeveless blouses, even asymmetrical draping and high slits, and those bold patterns, too.
I know. It's a completely different feel from the classic sari, a real shift in how people express themselves.
You can really see how perceptions are changing.
Definitely. And this shift is also reflected in the rise of fusion wear.
Blending Western silhouettes with traditional motifs and fabrics.
Yeah. Think lehenga skirts with modern blouses.
Creating that style that's both sensual and connected to heritage.
Exactly. It's a beautiful mix. And speaking of Turkish dramas, they've also inspired a growing demand for modest yet fashionable clothing.
Especially hijab-friendly outfits.
It just shows the wide range of expression within Bangladeshi fashion.
Absolutely. It's so diverse. But we can't talk about this evolution without mentioning models.
Oh, absolutely.
The Bangladeshi modeling industry has exploded in recent years.
Yeah.
In 2000, it was a $10 million market.
That's a lot, but it's nothing compared to what it is now.
But 2022, it had reached $250 million. That's insane growth.
Well, it's a combination of factors, really.
What do you think's driving that?
The rise of influencers is definitely a big one.
Makes sense. Social media is huge these days.
Then you have fashion weeks, like Dhaka Fashion Week, and more Bangladeshi models in international campaigns.
So they're not just showcasing clothes.
They're showcasing a whole style, an attitude, a way to express cultural identity. Like how high-end Banarasi saris are styled with bold accessories in bridal campaigns, or how traditional attire gets a modern twist in festive ones.
So it's almost like they're showing us how to wear our heritage in a new way, making it relevant for today.
Exactly, making it fresh and exciting.
And that leads us to the concept of the adoption curve. It's fascinating to think about where we all fit in.
Definitely. You have designers and those elite models at the forefront, the innovators who pick up new styles quickly.
Right.
Then come the early adopters, often people in urban areas and social media influencers, always on the lookout for the next big thing.
Then the trend spreads to the early majority?
often middle-class families and people in semi-urban areas.
And finally, it reaches the late majority and those who might be a bit more hesitant to adopt new trends.
Yeah, maybe those in rural communities or people who prefer a more traditional approach to style.
So, where do you see yourself on this curve? What influences your choices? It's something to think about, especially as we look at the economic impact of this fashion revolution.
Let's go back to those revenue figures we talked about earlier. The traditional market grew from 500 million to 750 million.
Impressive. But the modern market?
The modern market's gone from 50 million to a whopping 850 million.
Wow. That really highlights the power of these trends. They're not just shaping aesthetics, they're reshaping the economic landscape, too.
And that's something we're going to keep exploring in part 2.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, it really shows how dynamic Bangladeshi fashion is. It can balance tradition with innovation.
And when you look ahead, that balance is only going to become more important, right?
Absolutely. There's just so much potential for growth and creativity, especially with technology becoming more integrated with fashion.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Imagine virtual fitting rooms. You could try on traditional attire from anywhere in the world.
Right. Or AI customization. You could design your own Jamdani or Nachikanta pieces exactly how you want them.
That would be amazing. It's like a whole new level of personalization.
Absolutely. It really highlights the global reach of Bangladeshi fashion, too.
You're right. And the diaspora plays a huge role in that, especially through events like London Bangladesh Fashion Week.
It's all about shaping how the world sees Bangladeshi style.
It's a collaborative effort. But let's not forget the heart of this industry, the artisans.
Oh, of course. They're the foundation of everything.
Back in 2000, there were about 150,000 artisans in Bangladesh.
Wow.
And now, by 2022, that number had more than tripled. 450,000 artisans.
That's a massive increase.
It shows how much demand there is for handcrafted garments.
Especially those hand-woven saris, the Jamdani and Tan saris.
They're so beautiful.
They're treasured both in Bangladesh and internationally. Remember those export figures?
Oh, yeah. They went through the roof.
They jumped from $50 million in 2010 to $400 million in 2022.
It's amazing to see heritage crafts gaining global recognition.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that a large portion of these artisans are women.
You're right. They're empowered economically,
Yeah.
and they're preserving those traditional skills.
For future generations.
Exactly. And organizations like Orong and BRC have been so important in supporting them.
Absolutely. Ensuring fair wages, promoting sustainability. It's about creating beautiful clothes and a better future for the craft.
It reminds us that fashion can be a force for good. It can empower communities, preserve culture. But let's shift focus for a second and zoom in on the modeling industry itself. How has it been shaped by these trends?
The rise of modeling in Bangladesh is really interesting.
I bet.
A key driver has been the focus on regional styles, showcasing the diversity of Bangladeshi culture.
So designers are incorporating regional elements into their collections.
Exactly, and we see that reflected in the modeling campaigns. Traditional attire like saris, lehengas, and Punjabis are taking center stage, especially during festivals like Eid or Pohela Boishakh.
I've noticed that.
And these garments aren't limited to special occasions anymore. They're being integrated into everyday wear.
Styled in fresh, modern ways.
Absolutely. And we can't underestimate the impact of social media. Influencers on platforms like Instagram and TikTok are really powerful voices in fashion.
For sure.
They're promoting traditional attire through styling tutorials.
Right, bridging that gap between heritage and contemporary aesthetics.
Exactly. It's like they're showing us how to experiment with style, how to embrace our heritage in a way that feels authentic and modern.
And that's led to a surge in demand, especially in the wedding industry.
Absolutely. Bridal fashion shows are huge events now, often featuring those stunning red and gold Banarasi saris.
A symbol of tradition and luxury.
Exactly. And retailers are launching festive collections throughout the year.
Driving even more demand for traditional modeling campaigns.
It's a vibrant landscape, constantly changing and adapting to new influences.
And as we mentioned before, media plays a huge role in shaping these trends.
Of course. Think about how those Bollywood-inspired sari styles or those fusion looks with Western influences are becoming more accepted.
It's amazing to see those niche trends go mainstream.
Right. But even as these trends evolve, that core element of tradition and heritage remains strong.
Like a tree with deep roots, but its branches are reaching out in new directions.
Beautiful analogy. And within that structure, artisan craftsmanship plays a crucial role.
It does.
Those intricate Chamdani and Nakshikanta designs are
Yeah.
still highly sought after. People appreciate their artistry and cultural significance.
Absolutely.
Regional dramas, TV shows, and diaspora media all continue to highlight these traditional crafts.
Keeping them visible.
Exactly. But alongside this focus on heritage, there's also this wave of social intimacy driving trends, especially on platforms like TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All those viral videos where people show off their personal style, their own interpretations of traditional attire.
It's a powerful form of social proof.
Definitely.
Early adopters and people in urban areas are leading the way, making these trends more accessible to everyone.
And that leads to wider adoption.
Fueled by fast fashion and the ease of online shopping.
It's fascinating to see how tradition, innovation, and digital platforms all come together.
It really is. And speaking of digital platforms, we should talk about how UGC platforms, user-generated content platforms, have shifted how we perceive traditional attire, especially when it comes to sexual signaling.
It's a topic that definitely needs attention.
It does. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube have given users, especially young people, the power to redefine how they express themselves through traditional clothing.
Yeah, you can see that on Instagram. All those short videos showcasing fusion sari draping with belts and bold accessories.
Exactly. And there are tons of tutorials on sari styling, hijab fusion, and DIY fusion wear.
Catering to both modest and bold aesthetics.
Exactly. And TikTok's become a hub for hashtags like #SariNotSari,
I've seen those.
promoting bold sari styling tutorials and creating those curated aesthetics that celebrate individuality.
It's amazing.
And Facebook's become a platform for boutique-driven UGC, showcasing traditional outfits styled for urban youth and middle-class users.
And YouTube's full of tutorials on how to modernize traditional drapes.
With crop tops, sleeveless blouses, high slits, statement belts, you name it.
It's like an explosion of creativity. It really shows how digital platforms are democratizing fashion, giving people the power to express their own style.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how these platforms have allowed for the blending of different regional influences.
Like Indian, Pakistani, and Bangladeshi influencers all contributing to this evolution.
Exactly. Pushing boundaries and challenging norms.
It's a global conversation about style, heritage, and self-expression.
Happening right there in the digital space.
And this digital revolution's also had a huge impact on the economic side of things. Remember those e-commerce revenue figures we discussed?
Oh, yeah. They were pretty mind-blowing.
In 2000, national e-commerce revenue in Bangladesh was around $20 million, and global revenue was just $5 million.
Tiny. But those numbers have changed drastically.
By 2022, national e-commerce revenue had reached $250 million,
A huge jump.
and global revenue hit $150 million.
That's incredible growth. What do you think's driving that?
A lot of it has to do with the rise of platforms like Daraz and Ratcherdeal,
Makes sense.
plus all those independent social media boutiques that make traditional clothing more accessible.
You're right. And those global sales figures show how much demand there is for Bangladeshi fashion, both among diaspora communities and people who are just drawn to the beauty of these clothes.
It's amazing to see how technology connects cultures through fashion.
It really is. But as we celebrate this growth, we have to consider the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
What kind of challenges are you thinking about?
One of the biggest is sustainability. We need to find that balance between fair wages for artisans and responsible production practices.
That's crucial.
We also need to be mindful of cultural appropriation, protecting those traditional designs and making sure the cultural heritage of these garments is respected.
I completely agree. But there are also exciting opportunities out there.
For sure, like the development of hybrid fashion.
Blending Western cuts with traditional fabrics like Jamdani and Nakshikanta.
Exactly. That has the potential to create a whole new aesthetic, one that appeals to a global audience.
And imagine the possibilities of collaborating with international brands, showcasing the craftsmanship of Bangladeshi artisans to the world.
The potential is huge. And we can't forget about technology's role in the industry. AI-driven customization and blockchain could be used to verify authenticity and create those personalized experiences for customers.
It's like a future where tradition and technology come together to create a completely unique fashion scene.
Exactly. A fusion of the old and the new.
It's really exciting to think about. But as we envision this future, what are some of the key trends that might emerge? What will shape the future of Bangladeshi fashion? One trend that's gaining momentum is gender-neutral designs. Moving away from those rigid gender norms, could lead to more inclusive and expressive styles in Bangladeshi fashion. What do you think?
It's a sign of the times, for sure. Reflects that broader societal shift toward inclusivity and self-expression. More designers experimenting with silhouettes and fabrics, blurring those lines between what's traditionally masculine or feminine, creating clothing that lets individuals express their identity authentically, no matter their gender.
That's something I'm really excited to see, how this trend unfolds in the Bangladeshi fashion scene. And speaking of exciting developments, we can't forget about virtual fashion.
It has the potential to completely change the industry.
Imagine a virtual fashion show featuring Bangladeshi designers, or trying on a digital Jamdani sari in an augmented reality fitting room. The possibilities are incredible.
It could make fashion more accessible, sustainable, personalized. You could create a digital avatar and try on different traditional outfits, customize colors, fabrics, embellishments. You could even attend a virtual fashion show from home, experiencing the artistry and craftsmanship in a whole new way.
It's like a glimpse into the future of fashion, a fusion of technology and tradition. But even as we explore these possibilities, we have to remember that the heart of Bangladeshi fashion lies with its artisans.
Oh, absolutely.
Their skills, passed down through generations, are what make these garments so special. What challenges and opportunities do artisans face today in this rapidly evolving industry?
Ensuring fair wages and ethical working conditions is a big one. As demand for handcrafted clothing grows, it's crucial to make sure artisans aren't exploited and that their skills are valued. Organizations like Garong and BRE are doing great work in advocating for artisan rights and promoting fair trade.
It's a good reminder that fashion shouldn't come at the cost of human dignity or environmental sustainability. And speaking of sustainability, it's another challenge the industry needs to address. How do we balance that desire for beautiful, unique clothes with the need to protect the planet?
There are some innovative solutions out there. Designers are looking at natural, sustainable fabrics, like organic cotton and bamboo. They're experimenting with upcycling and recycling, turning old clothes into something new. And there's that growing slow fashion movement, encouraging people to invest in quality pieces that last longer, to reduce textile waste.
It's good to see those sustainable practices becoming more common in fashion. But let's go back to the trends we've been talking about. How have media and social media influenced the evolution of sexual signaling in Bangladeshi clothing?
Media has a big impact on how we view beauty and modesty. Back in the early 2000s, those Bollywood films often showed women in traditional attire that was both glamorous and sensual, influencing trends in Bangladesh. Then, as platforms like Instagram and TikTok took off, we saw a shift
Toward more individualistic and expressive styles.
Exactly. People were showing their own interpretations of those traditional garments.
And that evolution is reflected in the sari, such a central part of Bangladeshi culture.
Yeah, it's been reinterpreted in so many ways.
We're seeing a move away from traditional drapes. More contemporary styles incorporating crop tops, sleeveless blouses, asymmetrical draping, high slits, bold patterns.
It's like tradition and modernity coming together.
And the saris become a canvas for self-expression, allowing women to embrace their heritage while also making a statement.
You're right. And alongside the sari, we have fusion wear, blending elements of Western and Bangladeshi styles.
For a look that's both chic and rooted in tradition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we can't forget the influence of Turkish dramas, popularizing those modest yet fashionable options.
Especially hijab-friendly clothing.
It highlights the diversity of Bangladeshi fashion, something for everyone.
It's truly an exciting time to be following Bangladeshi fashion.
It is. From gender-neutral designs to virtual reality, the industry is always innovating and pushing boundaries. But we have to remember the heart of this evolution.
The artisans.
The designers who reinterpret tradition, the models who bring those creations to life, and the people who wear them with pride.
They're all part of the story. A story that keeps evolving with each season.
A vibrant tapestry.
What a fantastic way to sum up our deep dive into the world of Bangladeshi fashion, tradition and innovation, heritage and modernity, individual expression and cultural identity. Thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope you've gained a new appreciation for the art